You're listening to Sustainably Geeky, the podcast for everyday environmentalists.
Hi, you're listening to Sustainably Geeky, episode 64. And if you have listened for a while, you'll notice that we haven't had an episode out in a few months, as I was kind of taken over by school obligations. So I'm excited to be back after the summer. And today I am going to be talking to Oliver Winter, who is the founder and CEO of A&L Hostels, about sustainable travel and maybe some of the trends that the travel industry is seeing now and into the future. So, Oliver, thank you so much for being on. And if you could start, just give me a little background about yourself and how you came to found this company and kind of what you guys are all about.
Jennifer, first, yes, thanks for having me here. Great pleasure. And so 23 years ago, I founded this company in Berlin. I met this idea for hostels, backpackers during I traveled as a backpacker around the world. By the way, I visited Asia, so Australia, the US, and then I finished my travel around the world in Ireland. I met or was familiar with this idea after I traveled around the world and figured out later back in Berlin when I started my study to become a teacher, by the way, figured out that there'd be no hostels in this time. Yeah, so just very, very few, very little ones, and non-commercial hostels like we all know this YHA or YMCA, but nothing what I've seen before in Australia or in the US or on Ireland. So bigger hostels, private, independently. And that brought me to this idea, why not to set up a hostel in Berlin? So and I started and been able to open first 160 beds in Berlin in 2000. And it was quite successful from the very beginning. I had and then my previous partner and I, we started to grow first the business in Berlin and then in many other locations. So today A&O is in 21 cities, crossover Europe in 9 countries. The majority of our customers are a lot of groups, student groups, sport groups, families, of course, this typical backpacker during the summertime, especially doing this interrail or crossover Europe. Last year we've been very happy or proud to serve 6 million overnights, and our target group is, I would say, between 15 and 35 years, so quite young people.
Yeah, so you said you started around 2000, and I'm sure you've seen a lot of changes since then. Obviously, you guys have grown quite a bit, which is exciting. So, can you start by just telling us about how you all are working to go net zero by, is it 2025, which is very ambitious, and why did you pick net zero? Why did you pick this goal? Just how did you get to that point?
Yeah, it is really ambitious to be as a company to be net zero by 2025. So I would say we are quite early adapters of this topic. And in 2009, 2010, when I remember right, for example, we started first time to thinking about our carbon footprint, our impact, to the environment. And then in 2009 or 10, first time we introduced the carbon footprint calculator on our website. And for example, that was totally no success. It was much too early. Yeah, and we thought that we are very innovative. That's great, but that was too early. And then in 15, 16, this topic became more back into our minds, and even a lot. It was much requested from our employees. So the employees started really to highlight topics like why we have these single packages from and the breakfast from the marmalade or the soap in the bathrooms, all this stuff. So easy things to even easy to fix it. But so it came back into our minds and we said, okay, let's make something like a green roadmap and structure it a little bit and sort out what is feasible, what could we do better, what not. And then with taking first actions, it starts even to that with every question answered, you receive 10 new questions, yeah, in this topic. And we figured out we really need help here, yeah, to understand, yeah, how to measure your footprint, how could you really reduce it, what is, for example, yeah, what are actions making sense on long run, and how to engage people, yeah, to help you, where, yeah, and technical issues as well, but even motivation issues and a lot of things. And then in 15 was first time we started really to measure and figured out that in 15 our footprint was a little 10 kilogram per overnight. So first time we had an idea, yeah, okay, it's 10 kilogram per carbon dioxide per overnight. And yeah, then our motivation was, okay, let's bring this 10 kilogram down, yeah, to whatever, yeah, but let's just go start it and bring it down. And today, our 10 kilogram are down to 3.5 kilogram. So you see what you can achieve just by starting to take actions. And this, I would say, the wow effect for the company was, especially for myself, was during COVID, during Corona. When we've been in this pandemic and sitting at home, and everyone, the politicians especially, they teached us and to ask us, stay home, yeah, to flatten the curve and stay home. And I was impressed and wondering how quick a society learned to stay home. And they all stayed home, and they said, wow. And I started to thinking about what would happen if, for example, for climate consciousness, people decide to stay home. Yeah, if a society would say, for climate consciousness, it's not posh to travel anymore. So, and this was for me this aha effect to really decide we need something really, we need a tough goal, an ambitious goal, and we have to be, or we have to deliver really a sustainable, affordable accommodation product quite soon. And not 2040, not 2050, or whatever. We need something really, really quick. And then we spoke with the experts helping us here and asked what is the right way. And they explained me even how to avoid greenwashing and what does it mean, and when for example, it comes to this. And we understood, okay, first you have to do really everything what you can do with your own power to bring your footprint down. And we think, or we believe, until 2025, the most things what is in our hands, so to say, it's more or less done. Then of course there are still things to do and to go, but then it's a big step done from coming from this 10 kilogram in 15. Then probably we will achieve 2.5, 2.8, something like this. So really much lower than we started with. And then it's even fair to say, okay, now we start to buy credits to offset, yeah, and means buying or paying. Then as a company, we pay then that our carbon dioxide is removed, yeah. So we pay for removals, and yeah, that's the road or the roadmap now.
So it sounds like you started out wanting to do this for environmental reasons, responsibility, corporate responsibility, and it kind of turned into something you saw as a necessity, like, this is something we have to do if we want to keep appealing to travelers, especially those climate conscious travelers, right?
Right. So what we of course even did is, it's not only as a company that of course you like to contribute as best as you can to your environment and to the society. So two big drivers. One again, the employees. Yeah, a lot of our employees really today we working with, by the way, with a lot of students. Yeah, they work in summertime or even during their studies and as part-time employees. And many of them are much closer to this topic than, for example, I was in the beginning. Yeah, and they are studying stuff like this. They're really engaged here, and they started really to say, yeah, why are we doing this? Not like why we're doing A or not B, and we started really to listen to it. And the other thing is we really made an assessment, and of course we asked our customers as well, our clients, and we have, I would say, two cycles of clients. One is B2B clients. There are a lot of tour operators taking care for these school trips, yeah, and so we asked these tour operators. They are very close to these parent teachers conferences and all these topics. Ask what are you asked? What are parents thinking about, yeah, what are talking about when it comes to a school trip for next year planning and stuff like this. And they told us, yeah, sustainability is a big topic here, and how to travel, taking the coach instead of the plane, for example, and not so far anymore. Maybe if you are class from Germany, then not maybe go to Rimini just for fun. Then maybe choose a destination. Yeah, you can reach by coach, and it's closer by, stuff like this. And then even we ask the single travelers, and here I would say from our experience, 20-25% really deep involved with this topic, and have a lot of consciousness about climate and behavior, etc. 70-75%, I would say, don't care. Yeah, they do what they do, and what makes fun, so to say. But this 20 or 25%, it's so big that we said we can't ignore this. Yeah, and of course we need even an answer for this guys that with good mood they can use a product like ANO. Yeah, and so it started to develop this world.
So that kind of leads into my next question, which was about, obviously having these goals is great, but ultimately you're not the one physically implementing everything, right? You've got to depend on employees and the guests that are staying with you. So if you have passionate employees, that's great. And obviously when you hire people, that can be part of the process. But how do you really engage the people that are staying at the hostel, especially that 70-75%, like you said, that maybe isn't thinking about it? So how do you make sure, hey, they're putting the recycling in the recycling bin or the compost or whatever other measures you're trying to implement, and trying to get them excited about it as well and aware of it?
Yeah, that's a good question. We're thinking about this every day. Yeah, how to how to make it a little bit better. So on the one hand, of course, even from your 100% of your employees, maybe they are 70 or 80% say that's not my special topic. Yeah, I'm fine to do it, but please help me here to better understand, and why should I do it, etc. So first of all, we started with the employees and said, okay. We have an idea and we have to explain why. Yeah, and so with our annual trainings, for example, we started with a lot of newsletters, all for the employees first, because I think it's really a shame, for example, if you do something, your marketing team is communicating it very well, and then the customers come and ask, and your employees say, I have no idea, no clue about it. Yeah, never yet. So that's why we really started all the last years or past years, we to train and teach the employees, and for example created a voluntary green team, what we call green team, what is just steered by the employees by themselves, and it's where they can exchange their ideas, their experience, about is it working or not, and stuff like this. And yeah, we see with the customers, for example, one very simple but big step for us was now since a while, we showing on every invoice, on every bill, for example, we print this carbon footprint, what you spent during your or for your offer, what you will spend or what you did spend on your invoice, just to starting with something. Or we have on our website, we have a green section where we explain our roadmap, for example. So a lot of communication, what is not like with the finger, so to say. So it's by the way, yeah, we showing what we are doing and what we try to achieve. We have small things to just to remember people. For example, the elevators in our buildings, there are stickers on. Why not taking the stairs if you can? And for example, do you know elevator ride is consuming same energy like full charge your iPhone or your Android mobile? Yeah, so stuff like this. Yeah, so just by the way, trying to tell a little story, and that's what, for example, we're rolling out more and more.
Well, that's great. Very creative ways to reach people and make them a part of the solution as well. So, well, so obviously, when you're trying to do something at this scale, and you said you had locations in multiple countries, there's going to be external factors beyond your control that maybe influence your ability to implement some of these changes. So, I guess, can you talk about some of these challenges and maybe how you all are working to overcome them, whether they're like location specific, laws or regulations or other things that come to mind?
Yeah. So first of all, yeah, you are right. We are in this 9 different countries, and I would say as more as you come to the east, it's less a topic. Yeah. So this environmental protection. So for example, one of the most easy things we can do is to pay a little premium and buy all the electricity from renewable sources. That's, for example, something we can't do in Poland. Yeah, because it's not offered. Yeah, so it's something where it's easy to buy this in Germany or France or even in the UK, but there's no offer. Yeah, so that's something, for example, you have then to figure out how you can then offset, for example, for your electricity, to find another way around this. In general, what I'm happy to see that the EU is trying to synchronize more about this legal stuff, but in general, I would say the legislators are way too slow and too soft in this topic. Yeah, because we all have seen last year when we had here in Europe this energy crisis. Yeah, and this winter time, said of especially Germany, Austria, relied very much to this Russian gas, and we've been all afraid. Are we running out of gas, for example, during the winter period? And then we've been all asked to save and save energy, and we saw which huge impact, yeah, of what we all achieved, the entire industries, yeah, all contributed a lot. And in Germany, I read then later that we saved, I think, 20% or something in energy consumption, yeah, just by, but that was really, there was fear, yeah, there was, and it was not the legislator, yeah, and so I think here and crossover Europe, the legislators are too soft in with this topic, yeah, because maybe they have all in mind 2050, long time ago, and here I think that there could be a little bit more pressure to all the industries, yeah.
Yeah, definitely a more coordinated effort would make everybody's lives easier, probably, and streamline a lot of those processes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so talking about the changes that you have been able to implement, what have you found to be the least and most challenging of those?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. So the easiest is really, for example, where you just change your supply and buy it from other sources. So electricity again is a good example here. Yeah, you have, of course, you have to pay a little bit more, but it's just you have to sign a different contract. Yeah, and say from now I just like to have electricity from 100% renewables. So that's something, it's really easy. Of course, it costs a little bit more money, but it's easy to do. I think the most complicated is everything what is related to your buildings, to the hardware, really to the bricks and stones, so to say. Because if you are and we need, of course, for our operation, we need big buildings. Yeah, we operate big buildings where we are in for 20 years or 30 years, and they are already existing hostels, and for example to say, okay, we save the way how we, for example, use water, and for example introduce gray water to use a gray water from washing the hands, even to flush the toilet or stuff like this. This is really hard later to implement. It's even quite easy if you start with a new operation and with a new building, and you have still time, as long as it's not done and already constructed. But yeah, to an existing, everything what has to do with construction is mostly cost intensive, needs a lot of technical expertise and knowledge. That's the most hardest. Yeah.
Yeah, and in Europe, you're working with a lot of older infrastructure, anyways. A lot of times I found in my travels, and I'm sure the buildings aren't as insulated or well functioning as they would have been, with, like you said, when you first built. So I can imagine there's a lot of challenges there. Um, yeah, so definitely things that are probably like you said, location specific to maybe that part of the world that may not be the same in others, but still something that everyone I think can learn from and work with. Um, so as you're doing, all of this work and you're trying to make your company greener, have you started to work with others in the industry to do the same, or maybe, partner together to kind of, like you said, get maybe suppliers that are going to provide a greener, get a deal on those kinds of things or something like that, or just help maybe influence other companies to do a little bit better?
Yeah, so what we do, we have one firm we are partnering with. It's called Green Sign, and this company, by the way, is even auditing our places once a year. So they do the green audit, checking and give us a green level, so to say. And this company Green Sign is even doing they call it bar camps, yeah, and networking camps, where we always contribute, because that's really nice to to meet other people from our industry and to talk about their experience and what, for example, they tried out or figured out, and what we figured out, and to exchange this stuff. And that's I would say a way where our industry is really exchanging efforts and experience about green stuff. And then we try of course even to let other people know. And this is a topic where we say, please copy us. Yeah, if so usually you have, as a company, you have your company secrets and you don't like to share everything. But this, I think, is something we first of all, we don't have much time. Second, it helps the entire industry and even the entire society if we all produce greener. And that's why I think it's very important to be quite transparent and open here, and let people know and copy.
Yeah, we all win, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we all
Everybody
win.
goes green, even if they're competitors. So
Yeah.
that's great to hear. Well, and speaking of, like, what advice would you offer others in the industry looking to reduce their carbon footprint? In whether it's a hostel or just anybody in the travel industry working in that field.
Yeah, I would think I would give two advices. So first of all, really, it's like with your accounting, start to get an understanding, yeah, and measure it. Because if you don't have any feeling about it, it's really hard to even then to count your successes, yeah, because you even need own motivation. And it's great if you say, I come from whatever is your 10, it's maybe it's 20 or 30 or whatever. But if you come from a number and you know your number, and then your goal is to bring this number down, but you have to measure it. Even with your accounting team, you never would say, we just try to be a little bit more profitable, but we don't count our euros, or dollars or whatever. So of course you have to know about it and to start to get a feeling. And yes, and second is really, don't think that all this stuff costs money. Many of these actions you can take even save money. Some even does not cost money, and but so there are, let's say, these low-hanging fruits, and do this first, and it gives you quick success, quick wins, and motivation, even then to do maybe some more cost-intensive stuff. But it's not all about cost, so that's an excuse if people think, I don't like to start with it. Even of course on the long run, if you lose, so to say, later your clients, then it's too late. Yeah, you have anyway to transform and start with the transition to to a sustainable product, whatever your product is. But you have to start with this transition, and there are many actions you really can do quick and easy and with low cost. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like based on what your experience has been, you all didn't try to do it all at once. You did try to, like you said, reach the low hanging fruit and then build
Yeah.
on that. Because if you try to do everything, transition your whole operation at one time, it's gonna fail. You can't do it all. So kind of
Agree. Yeah.
biting it a little at a time. Um, yeah, that's great advice. Uh, so as travel continues to rebound post pandemic, what changes have you noticed, if any?
Yeah, what we see is a bit more domestic share. So in all our markets we are in, we see now a higher share of domestic. Of course, last year was not a full and clear picture, but this year, even with the first year, full year after pandemic, we see really, it sticks that the domestic share is higher, that people travel probably more earthbounded. That's even something we can see, and closer to their home. So that's, and we see it especially with our school groups we have in our houses, that many of them really avoid to travel distances longer than 300 kilometers, 400 kilometers, and that was before pandemic. That was not a topic, and we see very few school groups still using the plane. Of course, if you go longer distance between, let's say, the continent and Ireland or UK, of course, you have to fly. But if you think about going from Copenhagen to Rome, then they prefer the train or the coach instead of flying. Yeah.
Yeah, and despite these kind of changes in where people are coming from, it pretty much gone back to pre-pandemic levels, like as far as vacancies and how full you guys are, or is it still kind of building back up to that?
So last year we really had this pent up demand in the summertime, so it was even fuller than 19. 23 was even great compared to 19, a bit more, but not in general, not everywhere. Yeah, and what even maybe slows down a little bit the demand right now is that this high inflation we saw across over the planet, is now kicking into anybody's pocket, and so this is something what probably even in summertime it was a bit weaker than 22 with all this pent up demand, and people had this savings and this big desire to travel, and now normalized a little bit.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, as sustainability is becoming more well known amongst people in the world and the traveling community, obviously this is increasing as a concern. The impacts of travel, you hear a lot, especially taking planes and just the fuel that's used and everything. So as a result, some people may be choosing to travel less or more consciously. And what are some ways or some tips that you can offer people who are wanting to, reduce their impact when they travel versus, just going wherever they want, whenever they want, and not thinking about the consequences?
Yeah, well, I think, what you said. So if you maybe try to travel a bit less often, but longer. Yeah. So if you, for example, instead of, let's say, maybe it's really, if you remember to 1918, it was right common to fly from Berlin to Barcelona just for a party weekend. Yeah. But even you found these airfares of 20 euros or 30 euros, what you can't find anymore. Yeah? And it's maybe not the most worst news. Yeah. That this is over. And why not flying from Berlin to Barcelona, what is fine, but then even combine it and stay a little bit longer in Barcelona and maybe even visit Valencia or what is next by, make a longer trip and then flying back. Yeah, so that's the one thing. The other thing I think, always remember that in Europe we have a fantastic train network. Yeah, and it's even fun. Of course, sometimes you have delays or whatever, but even this could be fun. Yeah, and so use thinking about that the train is inside Europe. It's really a good alternative to use. And I know the fares are or the rate are really complicated to dive into all this, but you can even find really affordable deals to travel. For example, there's right now for Germany, there's a Germany ticket or pass. You can travel for 49 euros the entire month. Yeah, stuff like this. So yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities, I guess, to travel slow and kind of take advantage of, like you said, other modes of travel if people look for it. And unfortunately, I don't think, train or mass transit is as easy to come by in the United States and as it is here, but in Europe. But it is still accessible, and there are, other options, like you said, and ways to kind of minimize maybe carpooling or finding buses or something like that. So, all great tips. And, if folks are serious about wanting to reduce their impact when traveling, definitely look into slow travel and some of the things that he said, ways that you can kind of just travel a little differently. And it might be more fun anyway. It's something different.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
so, based on everything we've talked about and kind of your interest in this field, what are some of the resources that you'd share with our listeners who want to learn more about any of this?
Despite from your podcast, the what really was helpful for me, what I really love to read and still sometimes go back to this book is from Bill Gates, is how to avoid this climate disaster, because it's very well structured. It's a very general overview about these different topics of how to avoid, where it comes from, different segments, and even. And I think that's really important with in general with this topic, that it even gives you an optimistic outlook, yeah, and not only a disaster outlook for the future. And it gives the book left you with an idea or concept that there are many smart people in this world are working behind the scenes to solve all these issues. I was wondering how many technical solutions are already how many innovations are already there, and it's just a matter sometimes of course of money or time, sponsors or both, but so that's one of my favorite books.
Yeah, I read that a few years ago, and it is definitely inspiring and gives you some hope in a world where you hear a lot of doom and gloom about the climate and everything else. Okay. Is there anything we haven't touched on that you want to talk about in more depth or just follow up on?
No, Jennifer. No, I think really if we just really, if I can leave this message to don't be shy. Yeah, really just start. Yeah, and how little your start is, but please start with this transition and make your company or your club or whatever you're responsible for. These many little small changes are really doing a big impact. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely an all hands on deck moment, and it's not
Yeah.
it's not something that there's anything that's too small to make a difference, right?
Exactly.
I actually did just think of one more question before we move on to our green life hack. And you mentioned earlier that you all might have to offset your usage or different things to offset your carbon footprint. And I'm just wondering, what kind of projects do you look into for that, or how do you kind of vet the companies that you pick for those projects?
Yeah, it's one question, but it gives 1,000 answers here. Yeah, how you could do it, and it was even difficult for us or to understand what is the right way. So what we learned best really here is even there are a lot of specialized firms offering you here concepts and packages. First is really this firm you're partnering with should have like a gold standard, for example. So standard you can investigate in and understand that this company is proved and serious, etc. And it needs full transparency that really even your clients, your customers, in the end, the customers paying for it, knows where the money goes in which project. And these are projects, yeah, even these projects has to be really new projects and not just to help your neighbor with something what the neighbor is maybe doing anyway. Yeah. So, and we're partnering here with a company. It's called South Pole. South Pole did it, for example, even for EasyJet in the past, and so big company, lot of knowledge, and so we just this morning I had a longer Zoom with these guys and to understand what are current projects. And there's really a difference between these carbon removals or just future projects. Yeah. So, and what we need, for example, are these removals. Then you can decide there are two ways of removal: natural, what means planting trees, it's most common here, or these carbon carve out of the atmosphere and press it to somewhere. What is maybe not so sexy. Yeah. And for example, we going this way of this carbon removals, but we spoke, for example, even that we like to finance some pilot projects. What is really interesting to the soil, yeah, where the farmers working with, that this soil is very in many areas, like for example this area of Brandenburg, what is surrounding Berlin, is really the soil is out of humus, yeah, and to bring back this humus to the soil, that enables the farmer they need less chemicals, less pesticides, and all this stuff. And even the water is better storage in the soil and all this stuff. So many things. That's, for example, that's very, very expensive. That's why we're doing a mix of all this stuff. So we do the more low cost, planting trees in areas outside Europe then. And then doing some highlights, so to say, like for example, we are really interested in helping farmers, for example, with projects to better the quality of the soil, and because that's even a long-term project, what makes a lot of sense, immediately impact of helping the environment, etc.
Yeah, that's great. I'm so glad you mentioned soil sequestration, and there's so many projects out there, but I think most people do think of planting trees as the main offset, but there are so many ways to offset and kind of help your community and just the world. So yeah, for anyone looking, definitely, like you said, make sure you vet the companies and look into the type of product, because it doesn't always have to be the same type of thing. So
yeah,
that's great. Well, yeah, so I guess we'll go ahead and move on to our green life hack portion of the show. And this is where myself and the guest will share one thing that you can do to live more sustainably. So if you listen to the show and you're kind of overwhelmed with all of these things that we've talked about, this will give you one or two, in our case, since there's two of us, one action you can implement in your daily life to reduce your carbon footprint. So Oliver, would you like to go first?
Yeah, what I'm personally doing, and I think that's easy, and it even saves money. I always try to drink water by tap. So that's very simple, but and even quite common already. But in Europe, you really can do it in every country without any doubts. So and yeah. that's something you can do by tomorrow.
I love that. Yeah, I'm a big proponent of tap water, and
Yeah.
I won't buy bottled at all. But that's very close to my green life hack actually, which is similar and travel related. If you're traveling, whether it is an airport, a train station, or by car or whatever, you can bring a reusable water bottle. And usually, these days, most train stations, airports, whatever, will have a filtered water station where you can fill it up. So not only do you not have to pay €5 or dollars or whatever for a
Yeah.
bottle of water, you're saving money, but you're also, saving waste because you're bringing your own container. You do have to bring it through security empty, obviously, if you're going through an airport. But I have found that a very handy tip because who wants to,
Yeah.
have to pay all that money? And then, yeah, another, I guess, travel related hack would just be if you can save. It saves you space and also saves you from bringing liquids. Is bring solids through. Solid soap, shampoo bars, whatever else, so you don't have to have the plastic, and then you're also kind of getting around the security rules around the liquids and everything. So kind of a win-win. So a couple of travel hacks for you and ways to live more sustainably. um, yeah, Oliver, thank you so much for being on. I was really excited when your team reached out because I do love to travel, but as an environmentalist, there's always that kind of guilt about my impact and
Yeah.
everything. And I have been staying at more hostels lately because it is, a cheaper way to travel, but I feel like also kind of greener because you're not giving each person their own space and you're kind of consolidating a lot of the resources that would be used. So, and it's a great way to meet people and just kind of learn about the community that you're staying in. So, I really appreciate you sharing your experience and the things that you guys are doing. It makes me hopeful for the future of travel. um, so where can folks find you guys online if they want to learn more, follow you, stay up to date?
It's they can find us at aohostels.com. Yeah, that's our website, even with a section about our green actions and plans for the future. And they can find me on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Okay.
And Jennifer, thanks for having me here in your show. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. And you can find the show, of course, anywhere you listen to podcasts, on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and you can find me personally here on Sustainably Geeky, sometimes on our sister shows, Marginally or Epically Geeky, and on Instagram and Twitter at Het's Gonna Be Me. So again, thank you for listening, Oliver, and we will be linking to all the resources that we talked about in the show notes. For everybody listening, have a great rest of your day.